Russian forces have killed at least 12 people and injured dozens in attacks across Ukraine, including a drone strike on a passenger train.
Yesterday, a Russian drone struck a crowded passenger train, killing at least 5 people. It took place in the northeastern region of Kharkiv, and such attacks on passenger trains are rare. President Volodymyr Zelensky described the attack as an act of terrorism.
January 27, 2026, Kharkiv region, Ukraine. A passenger train is on fire with black smoke coming from a central car. People run desperately. Some carry the wounded, others scream for help. 6 people have just died. Dozens are injured. Among the passengers who survived was a Ukrainian soldier. His war name is Omar, a drone unit commander. He was returning home from leave when the impact happened, and Omar realized something immediately, something the other passengers didn't understand. The train had stopped on the tracks, and that meant one thing. They were still a target because Omar knew exactly how military drones work, and he knew that if there was an operator controlling that attack, then Omar did what he had to do. He organized an immediate evacuation, took people away from the train to the cover of a nearby highway, and probably saved dozens of lives. But here's a troubling truth. This train wasn't military, it was the Barvinkov-Lviv CHOP train, a regular passenger line, families returning home. There were unarmed civilian workers, and what made this attack different from all others wasn't who died. Russia is doing this frequently. What caught attention was how they died. Because this train wasn't hit by a missile fired from afar, it wasn't hit by artillery. It wasn't luck or bad luck. This train was hunted, tracked, pursued as it moved. And then, with surgical precision, 3 Russian Shahed drones hit not the locomotive, which would be the most obvious target, but the wagon right in the center of the train. The precision was so absurd that Ukrainian military investigators immediately concluded this wasn't automatic. There was a human operator, someone piloting in real time, seeing everything, controlling everything. And here things get even more complicated. After all, how did Russia manage to track and hit a train, one moving kilometers away, with such precision? Well, the answer lies in something that should never have been in their hands. Starlink. The same satellite internet technology that the United States and Elon Musk provided to Ukraine for its defense was now being used by Russia to kill Ukrainian civilians. But before explaining how this happened, you need to understand what Starlink is and what it represents in this war. We're talking about a satellite internet system. Think of it this way. You have a small antenna, you plug it in, and through thousands of satellites around the Earth, you have fast internet anywhere. For Ukraine in 2022, when Russia invaded and destroyed cell towers and internet cables, Elon Musk offered Starlink. Suddenly, Ukrainians had working internet, allowing military coordination. Even with everything destroyed, Starlink became the backbone of Ukraine's defense. But while Ukraine was using this technology to defend itself, somewhere in Russia, military engineers were having an idea. They probably wondered, what if we could use this same technology? Let's go back to that train for a moment because this event reveals the answer to that question. Look. Russian drones usually use basic global positioning system. You program the coordinates before launching, and the drone flies there on its own. It works on stationary targets, but the drone misses if the target moves. This has been the case for years, but with Starlink, everything changes. A Russian operator now views the drone's camera feed in real time. If he sees a train moving, well, just adjust the route, select the car, and then attack with precision. It's the difference between shooting blindfolded and shooting while seeing the target, and that's exactly what killed those 6 people on January 27th. And do you want to know how Russia got this technology? To explain, let's go back a few weeks. Dubai United Arab Emirates. Buyers using shell companies purchased Starlink terminals at electronics stores, a transaction completely within the law, paid with an international credit card, and left with an official receipt. The purchase itself is legal, but the end use violates the terms of service. These terminals were shipped to Kazakhstan, which shares a porous border with Russia. There, thousands of commercial trucks cross every day, and the terminals were smuggled into Russia hidden in commercial cargo. Investigations identified a specific company, Ross Cargo, moving hundreds of these terminals along this route. On the other side of the border, they appeared on Russian websites, sold for between $1,000 and $3,000 each. But getting your hands on the terminal is only half the problem. Integrating a commercial internet device into a drone flying at high speeds requires complex engineering, which demands extra batteries, advanced processors, and protection against vibrations. But eventually, through trial and error, the Russians managed to develop a relatively cheap drone, now with the capabilities of a precision-guided missile. And when the first tests were successful, Russia escalated. In January 2026, dozens of these attacks were carried out, mainly against fuel trucks on the roads and moving military convoys. And then on January 27th, that train, 6 dead, dozens injured. The pressure on Elon Musk was about to explode in a very public way. The tension reached its peak. The Polish foreign minister Radoslaw Sikorski opens Twitter and posts a brutal message directed at Elon Musk. He said, "Profiting from war crimes can damage your brand." The message is clear. You are allowing your technology to kill people. Do something. Musk responded 2 hours later, calling Sikorsky an imbecile and insisting that Starlink is the backbone of Ukrainian defense. But behind the scenes, away from social media, the conversation is very different. The Ukrainian defense minister, Mikhail Fedorov, he calls SPACEX executives directly with an urgent message. We need a solution now, and with every hour that passes, more Ukrainian civilians are at risk. But a major challenge remained. After all, how can you tell the difference between a Starlink terminal inside a civilian car and one inside a missile? That's when, 2 days after Sikorsky's public pressure, SPACEX teams in California implemented an urgent solution. It was simple and elegant. They focused on speed. You see, a civilian terminal in a car or train rarely goes over 90 kilometers per hour, but a military drone, well, it flies much faster. So SPACEX created a digital speed limit. Any terminal moving above 90 kilometers per hour would be automatically disconnected. The update was sent remotely through the satellites instantly. And then at dozens of points on the front line, Russian operators saw their screens go black, connection lost. SPACEX's algorithms had detected speeds above the limit and disconnected the terminals. The drones kept flying in basic global positioning system mode, but now without live video, without precise control, and without the ability to adjust the target in real time. Missions were aborted and attacks started to fail all along the front line. The Russian advantage began to evaporate. But that same morning, on February 1st, while SPACEX was celebrating its initial success, something terrible was happening in the Dnipropetrovsk region, somewhere out there. A Shahed 136 drone is in the air. This drone was launched before the update. Its terminal still works. The drone spots a bus carrying miners returning from the night shift, tired men, civilian workers. The Russian drone operator then makes a big mistake, identifying the vehicle as a military target then adjusts the trajectory and presses the button. 12 men die, 15 are badly injured. And that same morning, in a brutal irony, Elon Musk posts on his social media, "Looks like the measures we took to stop the unauthorized use of Starlink by Russia worked." But while he was writing that, 12 Ukrainian families were receiving the worst news of their lives. The measures still hadn't worked completely. It was then that, on that same day, SPACEX implemented a second countermeasure. They created an official list of terminals approved by the Ukrainian government. Now, every Starlink terminal operating in Ukrainian territory would need to be officially registered with the user's name, location, and stated purpose, not on the list. It gets shut down remotely without warning. Drastic. Invasive. But was it that, or allow more civilians to die? The Russians tried to adapt by buying more terminals, forging records, and programming drones to fly slower, but every Russian move was followed by a countermeasure from SPACEX. It's a war within the war, code against engineering, and slowly Russia lost its airspace. In the following weeks, throughout February 2026, the results became clear. Russian attacks on moving targets dropped drastically, and drones went back to conventional global positioning system. The surgical precision from January disappeared, and that train we talked about at the beginning, well, it ran normally again. Families started traveling again because now they are significantly safer. Not completely safe. Why? The war continues. But the specific threat of drones guided by Starlink has been neutralized. The real impact wasn't on the internet, but rather on a nation's ability to defend itself, while Russia went back to operating partially blind. A businessman in California made all these decisions. Elon Musk was never elected. He doesn't answer to any parliaments. He doesn't swear an oath to defend any constitution. But at the end of that January, he had the power to change the course of a war between nations. With lines of code sent remotely and decisions made in corporate boardrooms, 6 people died on that train, 12 minors on that bus, 18 lives lost. But how many lives were saved when SPACEX pressed that button? We'll never know the exact numbers. What became very clear is that modern war is fought with software, satellites, and corporate decisions made thousands of miles from the front. And whoever controls the technology controls the battlefield. That's the reality of war in the 21st century. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you think private companies like SPACEX should have so much power over military conflicts between nations? Or should that be exclusively in the hands of elected governments? Comment your answer below. If you like this video, share it with someone who's interested in technology and geopolitics. And subscribe to the channel to follow more analyses about what's happening in the world. See you in the next video.